Donald Trump is a man who has never been a stranger to controversy, even before he won the US presidential election 7 years ago in 2016. The name of this billionaire used to be accompanied by some controversy in all the news, newspapers, and magazines. After winning the presidency? Geez, we all sure remember that time. The man couldn't even breathe without managing to get into controversies, no matter if they were justified or not. And what is the most recent controversy involving this man? You may be surprised to know that none, and yet his name is once again embroiled in scandal. Steve Bannon, former advisor to the ex-president. A lot of X's in one sentence, right? He is currently on trial for contempt of court in the investigation into the 2021 Capitol attack following Biden's victory in the 2020 presidential election. Will Trump be involved? Is the evidence against Bannon solid? Did Trump's circle have anything to do with it too? Don't worry, we will answer all these questions in our analysis of the case. Donald Trump. This man definitely doesn't need any kind of introduction. His circle, on the other hand, is full of names that not everyone will recognize at first. You're probably expecting the case we're going to talk about today to involve Mr. Trump. The truth is that no one would be surprised if this controversial character has got himself into trouble once again. Come on, it even comes naturally to him. But no, surprisingly, Trump is not our concern today. But his entourage or social circle, well, at least not directly involved. The former president surrounded himself with characters who pay homage to a man as controversial as Donald Trump, as several of them have been involved in controversies equal to or even more controversial than the controversies in which the billionaire businessman usually gets involved. What is the most recent and notorious case involving any of these guys? We don't have to go too far, because Steve Bannon, the former advisor to Donald Trump, the ex-president. Seriously, that's a lot of X's for one sentence. Let's move on. Let's be honest, Bannon has been involved in more than one controversy, and we're ready to tell you all about it. Well, this is a very valid question. There's a high probability that this name or any news related to him won't ring a bell, and that's why we're making this video, to explain it, so here we go. Steve isn't in that much trouble. He's just being underappreciated. Well, he's definitely in trouble. Why is he being judged, and what does any of this have to do with Trump? We don't know how much it has to do with Trump, but he's definitely involved to some degree. Crime-wise? We'll have to go back a little bit, to 2021 to be exact. Let's travel back in time. You'll probably remember that in 2021, after Trump lost the election to Joe Biden, the current president, there was an organized attack on the Capitol. Surely you already have an idea of where we are going. Bannon is facing prosecution for refusing to cooperate with the investigation into the January 2021 assault on the Capitol, the attack that occurred during the victory verification of incumbent Joe Biden. On that day, more than 10,000 Trump supporters marched to the Capitol, about 800 stormed, and the disaster ended with several dead and wounded. What was Steve Bannon's role in all this? We will know when we speak about his trial, which we will in a moment. For now, let's start with the main thing. First, we should know that his charge is for, quote, contempt of the investigation into the attack on the Capitol. A very, very serious charge. I think it's time for this trial. Here we go. The process finally begins when Bannon declares that his, quote, executive privilege, which protected communication between the president and the team, was revoked. According to the former president, this privilege was invoked when Bannon was subpoenaed to testify, but the committee had already decided that the privilege was invalid, as neither held public office at the time of the attack. CBS reports that jurors must confirm whether they saw the attack and whether they can set aside any opinions they have about those involved. As of November 2021, Bannon faces a charge for his refusal before the committee and refusal to turn over documents. Suspicions can lead to imprisonment for 30 days, or up to a full year, plus a $100,000 fine. The committee wanted him to testify because they suspected the defendant had prior knowledge of what would happen that day, when Biden's victory had been predicted and Trump had called for a protest near the White House. Bannon had spoken at length to Trump on the eve of the attack, including assuring him on his podcast that, quote, all hell would break loose that day. The Justice Department currently considers the former lawyer's change of heart regarding his willingness to testify to be irrelevant to his defense. The 8th and final session of this first round of questioning will take place later this month, so we are coming to a key point in the trial. The trial is expected to be brief, as all avenues of defense for Steve Bannon have been dismissed. In fact, attorney David Schoen declared, quote, what's the point of going to trial if there is no defense, after the judge rejected his arguments. The trial isn't over, so we don't have much more to report, but don't think the video is over, because Steve Bannon isn't the only member of Trump's inner circle to get into trouble, in fact. In June, another former Trump advisor, Peter Navarro, was also charged with contempt of court, as he also refused to testify on the grounds that he had, quote, executive privilege. And this is not the only example. Make yourself comfortable, because we still have a lot to talk about. Based on documents filed with the court by the prosecution, an investigation was launched against 16 people for signing an unofficial election certificate for the purpose of illegally supporting Trump. The grand jury is trying to determine whether Trump interfered in Georgia's 2020 general election. The former president's former lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, was called to testify, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, and other allies of the former president. Some of these include John Eastman, Cleta Mitchell, Kenneth Chesborough, and Jenna Ellis, who allegedly advised Trump to reverse the multi-state outcome. Giuliani stands out among all these names, as he has testified several times before Georgia lawmakers regarding the pregnancy case. John Eastman is not far behind, as after several hearings, it appears that it was he who misled Trump and devised the final plan to prevent Biden's presidency. Eastman led Trump to believe that Mike Pence, his vice president, held the keys to the election. He created a document explaining that his vice president could disrupt the certification process. However, the legal validity of this plan is long overdue. The commission would conclude that Eastman knew his plan was illegal before presenting it to the former president. Another hearing will also limit whether some far-right groups, such as Oath Keepers or Proud Boys, who led the protest, were in coordination with Trump insiders to organize the attack. Days before security advisor Michael Flynn is due to take part in a meeting in the Oval Office to reverse the election result, he was photographed with prominent members of Oath Keepers. For his part, John Bolton, a former national security advisor who boasts of having won in the coup organization, has avoided being specific. But it's easy to guess what he's referring to. For now, the trial is not over. However, we cannot deny that nothing looks good for Bannon, or for anyone else who was close to Trump during that attack, if we're honest. It seems that a man embroiled in controversy will attract attention to the same kind of people. For now, we can only wish that all the culprits are brought to justice, as that attack took some innocent lives. Before we end the video, we'd like to ask you a couple of questions. Well, we'd love to know your opinion regarding today's topic. Do you think Steve Bannon deserves to be tried? What are your feelings about Donald Trump's controversial presidency? What is your general opinion about the attack that happened on Capitol Hill? Don't forget to answer below in the comments box. That concludes today's video. Leave your comments on the video, and if you would like to see a specific topic discussed on the channel, you can also leave your suggestions below. Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. See you next time.